Once again, the problems continue, and this week I don't know whether I can do anything about it. Hey guys, welcome back to building the ultimate Civil War airport battle, a 6-part series where we modify and upgrade the original Civil War airport battle Lego set from 2016. This is the 3rd part of our 6-part series where we talk about the vehicles that are going to be included in this MOC. I've already explained a little bit of what we're going to be doing in the plan, which has already come out, so if you're behind, you should go and watch those episodes. And there's no point watching episode 1 and 3, so you might as well watch episode 2 whilst you're there, which is where we talk about some of the minifigures that are going to be included in this MOC. Maybe more to come later. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Now, if we take a look at the scene, you can see that most of this is going to happen on the airstrip. So what do we need in terms of an airstrip? Now, the first obvious one is the plane. I know I explained in the plan that I want a plane in this video so Ant-Man can hold the wing. So I thought to myself, I'm going to have to build a plane, and that's the first thing I immediately attempted was building one, but then immediately realized that this was going to be way bigger and way more expensive than I thought it was going to be. Thankfully, LEGO actually had my back on this one because they make a LEGO City plane. So I got in the car and I nipped down to my local toy store to pick one of these planes up. I managed to find my plane on a very good deal, and also noticed that in this plane is a car and an airport, which we can use for extra pieces. And I'm fully aware that this might not be the correct size or even the right plane, but I 100% think that this plane will work for the scenario that we're going to use, and it means that if you guys want to attempt something like this, you just have to go out and buy this plane. And you don't have to go on Rebrickable and find some giant MOC or UCS version or buy that old UCS plane that came out a while ago. Even though this is a playset plane, it's definitely going to work with what we need. This plane was definitely good enough to suit our needs. Now, the things we don't need from this set is that little car and the terminal, because we're just going to build our own ones. So we can even recuperate some of the cost from that and put that into some other models. But what we will need is the actual plane itself, and this plane looks well detailed enough and even matches some of the color scheme from the film, which is 100% a bonus. And even though this plane is very well detailed, I unfortunately stumbled across a problem with it, and that was these wings. It would work fine if you were just making an airport because the wing doesn't have to come off the plane, but because this wing has to come off, I have to remove this gigantic piece from the center of the plane. Unfortunately, this means that we're going to have to create our own custom wings, and I've done that in here. This video is going to contain quite a few studio files of more about what I have planned to build rather than actual physical models, but that's mainly because I want to get your opinions on these models before I go ahead and buy them, so let me know what you think of these in the comment section below. These wings are roughly the same size as the previous wings, except they're done on 2 different plates, and hopefully they'll stay up. If I'm honest, these wings are kind of just thrown together, but I made them to be the same shape. And obviously the right wing is not going to be attached at all, it's just going to leave this jagged edge mark, because the other side of the wing is going to be in Giant Man's hands. I also made the back section of this plane bigger because having the front section be bigger as well might make the plane look overall just slightly disproportionate, and it was the wrong color. Now moving on, as you can see in the original set, there was no flooring or anything, it was just a big building, Giant Man, and a few cars. So obviously doing the same sort of approach, we've just made it a bit bigger and we've done a lot more cars. This is one of my favorite vehicles out of the whole lot. It's an aircraft tug designed by Heinz 551. As far as I'm aware, his instructions are completely free over on Rebrickable, and although I have modified it to make it slightly cheaper and use less parts, I've tried to make it look a little bit more like the Civil War version by tiling off a few areas and adding this lamp on the top. But if I'm honest, I didn't really do much, it's a really nice build. One thing that was prevalent on the set that's definitely going to be recreated here is the amount of boxes that were just randomly spewed out across the airport. Giant Man kicks a load of these boxes, and it's probably just for dramatic effect, but I thought it best to recreate some of these larger boxes considering Giant Man's going to be so big in this MOC. And this is simply just made of some dark tan bricks. This idea was actually given to me by a member, and they really do contribute to quite a bit that happens on these MOCs. As you can see, unlike the last series, this series isn't sponsored by anyone, so those members giving that little bit extra really does go the extra mile. These people funding the channel and help pay for these kind of projects should definitely get something extra in return. That's why all members, any tier that you are, get an exclusive members behind the scenes episode, taking a little bit more of an in-depth personal look at the creation of a series like this. A big shout out to all of the members that make these videos possible, and remember that behind the scenes part will be out at the same time that part 6 releases. Back to the video. One thing I am really excited to build, however, is the Airport Walkway thing. I don't know the actual terminology for it, but basically this thing. It was always my intention to recreate this scene, as I believe this to be one of the coolest scenes from that fight, as like I've said many a time, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and when they introduced him in Civil War, they really did make him the sarcastic character when he's wearing the mask, more so than he does even in his newer films. I was actually tempted to make this as an independent MOC, but I thought including it in this series would be even cooler. and I'm really surprised LEGO didn't actually make this into the set themselves, considering LEGO's version decided to go with an oil tanker that can explode. Maybe this was just too ambitious for LEGO to do, or maybe they wanted to do a set with a vehicle because kids would be more drawn to that kind of a thing. But that set did originally contain Spider-Man and Captain America, along with Vision and Hawkeye, so LEGO did have the figure selection to do it. You could have almost done 2 mini sets in one, which is kind of what we're doing in terms of this model. Another idea I've seen by a bunch of people in the comment section, which I really do agree with, is we can hide Peter Parker's phone behind one of these cars or behind one of these boxes to make it look like he was filming for his side project, which we see at the beginning of Homecoming, which I think would be a really cool reference, and one that I didn't think of. That's why I love reading all of the comments that I get on these videos. And as you can see, I'm recreating that scene where Peter Parker is holding up the walkway, and yes, it is built at a specific height, so a minifigure can fit underneath it relatively comfortably. And that's why this walkway is a bit weirdly shaped and not necessarily movie accurate, as recreating this scene is slightly difficult when a minifigure has to get underneath it to hold it up. And hopefully these wheels on each side should help out the minifig quite a bit. And lastly, we just have some luggage carts. Now these luggage carts can be seen all throughout this fight, and there's actually a lot more than just 2 of them. Now I have made 2 of them, and they're a very simple build, consisting of a few panel pieces that are coloured in blue with plates on the top and bottom with just wheels on the bottom. Now usually these luggage cars are being pulled by a vehicle, and you can see one vehicle in one shot, but to keep costs low, I just decided to shove on another one of these luggage cars on the back here, instead of making the vehicle, because that would increase the piece count and the unique parts that I'd need to buy on Bricklink, therefore making it more expensive. So 2 luggage cars is what we're going to stick at for now, and like I say, I would have loved to include more vehicles and try and fill this MOC out a little bit, but I think this is a good starting point at least. There were definitely plans to create a lot more vehicles, including this helicopter and some more of these luggage car things, but if I'm honest, those minifigures from the previous episode did eat into the budget quite a fair bit, considering I had basically 0 of these minifigures and I had to buy them all. This series so far at least has had a very positive engagement, and even though I couldn't modify most of those minifigures, the response on that video has been insane. Like I said before, most of these models are digital for now, but hopefully you should see these models in live action on episode 5. Next week we have Giant Man to look forward to, the true central core to what I believe is going to be this MOC's saving grace. This is definitely what I'd call the quote-unquote main build of this airport series, so I look forward for you guys to joining me on that episode. If you guys want a preview of some of the other Marvel MOCs that I've made, especially to do with Spider-Man, you should click the screen now, where I made my own custom Vulture Wings using the new 2021 set. Click the screen, I'll see you in the next one.